Eala's entire team suspended. Hidden report reveals why. Nobody saw this coming. Not the fans, not even Alex herself. A confidential report leaked overnight, and within hours, her entire support staff vanished from the tournament roster. Coaches, physios, even her longtime hitting partner, all suspended without warning. But what's buried inside that report could change the way we see her rise, her rivalries, and her trust in those closest to her. Because sometimes, the biggest betrayal doesn't come from your opponent. It comes from your own corner. It started like any other season. Warm sunlight over the courts, the sound of rackets slicing through the air, and the unmistakable rhythm of victory following Eala wherever she went. She had just come off one of her most dominant months yet. Her confidence was quiet but contagious, radiating through a team that seemed built to last. The chemistry within her camp was undeniable. Coach Ramirez, the architect of her new aggressive baseline game. Marina, her strength and conditioning specialist, known for pushing Alex to her physical limits. And Diego, her longtime hitting partner, the one constant face beside her since her junior days. Together, they weren't just a team, they were a family. Every day began the same way. Morning drills, tactical huddles, private laughter that only comes from trust earned through struggle. To outsiders, it looked perfect. But perfection in sports is often just the silence before the storm. There had been small signs, barely noticeable to anyone not paying attention. Late arrivals to practice, a growing distance between Alex and her coach. The quiet tone of her father in interviews, avoiding questions about management decisions. And then, there were the whispers, the kind that travel faster than the ball itself. Whispers of outside influence, of unregistered sponsors suddenly appearing at team events, of tension over contracts, bonuses, and loyalty. At first, fans brushed it off. Every rising star faces rumors. But something about this time felt heavier. Even Alex, usually composed under pressure, began to look different, more withdrawn during press conferences, her answers shorter, her smile forced. Then came the first public clue. A small but curious detail. Her coach's accreditation badge was missing during a televised match. Cameras caught it. Social media froze the frame. Within hours, the image went viral, people asking, why isn't her coach on the bench? Tournament officials offered no comment. And Alex? She dodged every question. Just focusing on my tennis, she said softly, looking down. But even in that calm voice, you could hear something breaking. As tournaments rolled by, her results remained strong. But the atmosphere around her grew colder. Behind every handshake, there was tension. Behind every victory photo, there was distance. And behind the curtain of success, something was clearly unraveling. One journalist described it best. You could feel it. Like a storm cloud that hadn't broken yet. Everyone around her could sense the electricity, but no one knew where the lightning would strike. Still, Alex kept pushing forward. Her focus was legendary, her discipline unmatched. But discipline can't shield you from betrayal. Behind the scenes, investigations had quietly begun, the kind that move in silence until they don't. Internal auditors from the Federation had started tracing payments linked to her team. Anonymous complaints had been filed, multiple from different events. But none of this had reached the public. Not yet. To the outside world, Eala was simply on the rise, a new face of modern tennis, blending humility with hunger. Yet those closest to her knew something was off. The meetings after practice grew longer, the conversations shorter. And every day, the walls around her confidence began to crack a little more. Then came the night that would change everything. A call, a message, and a sealed envelope marked confidential. By morning, her team's world would implode. But in this quiet moment, before the headlines, before the chaos, Alex stood at the edge of the court, eyes closed, holding her racket tight. Unaware that the people she trusted most were about to disappear, and that her journey from prodigy to professional was about to take a turn darker than anyone imagined. It started with a single headline that nobody believed at first. Confidential Federation report leaked. Alleged misconduct in Eala camp. Within minutes, the story spread like wildfire across every tennis forum, sports feed, and social platform. Fans scrambled for confirmation. Journalists refreshed pages in disbelief. And by the time the sun rose, it was official. The report was real. The leak came from an anonymous email sent to multiple international outlets, containing a 22-page document marked Internal Use Only. It detailed a shocking list of accusations: breach of conduct, improper representation, financial misreporting, and something far worse, suspected external influence in match preparation. In simple terms, manipulation. At first, people thought it had to be fake. How could Eala's team, a group praised for discipline and professionalism, be involved in anything unethical? But then the logos on the document matched the Federation's own confidential watermark. And so did the signatures. It was no rumor now. It was real, and it was explosive. The internet reacted in chaos. Some fans rushed to her defense. There's no way Alex would be part of that. While others demanded answers. Sports commentators, once full of praise, suddenly changed tone. One wrote, "If these findings are true, it could alter not just her season, but her entire career trajectory." The most damning detail wasn't what was written, it was what wasn't. Nowhere in the document did it accuse Alex herself of wrongdoing. The report stated clearly, "The athlete remains uninvolved to our current knowledge." But perception moves faster than truth. When the team around you falls, the shadow always falls on you too. Inside the document, investigators described unauthorized third-party interference. Certain communication logs suggested her coaching. Staff had been in contact with outside individuals, including one linked to betting organizations. The allegation alone was enough to bring the hammer down. Tennis is a sport built on precision, ethics, and image. Even the slightest hint of corruption can end reputations overnight. And this was nuclear. Within hours, the Federation released an official statement. Effective immediately, the accreditation of Eala's coaching and management staff is suspended pending further investigation into violations of code conduct and ethics. No names were listed publicly, but everyone knew who they were: her coach, trainer, agent, and hitting partner. The people she trusted every day. Alex was seen leaving practice early that morning. No interviews, no comments. Just a hooded figure walking past cameras, phone in hand, head down. In the next 24 hours, the tennis world spiraled. Speculation ran wild. Some said it was a setup by rivals. Others believed one of her staff members had sold information for cash. There were even whispers that the report was leaked deliberately by someone inside her own camp, trying to protect themselves before everything exploded. The silence from Alex only fueled the storm. Eala scandal trended worldwide. Her name appeared alongside words like suspension, corruption, and betrayal. And yet, deep within the noise, a quieter theory began to grow: that Alex had been targeted. A rival federation, an old grudge, a jealous competitor. Nobody knew for sure. But the timing was too perfect, the leak too precise. By the end of that day, the young star who was supposed to focus on her next match was facing the biggest crisis of her career. Her team gone, her trust shattered, her reputation hanging by a thread. And as fans scrolled through the leaked pages, one question echoed louder than all the others. If Alex wasn't involved, then who leaked it, and why now? The answers would come soon. But first, the fallout had to begin. By sunrise, the damage was beyond repair. The Federation's statement hit the media before Eala even stepped on court. In the span of just a few hours, her entire team, the people who'd guided her career from the beginning, had their accreditations revoked, passes canceled, and names wiped clean from tournament listings. It wasn't a suspension anymore. It was an erasure. Journalists swarmed the training grounds, desperate for a comment. Cameras followed her from the locker room to the car park. Every word, every gesture, every look was dissected. But Alex said nothing. She didn't even post a single word on social media. No denial, no defense. Just silence. And that silence became a headline of its own. Sports commentators began to split into sides. Some called it professionalism, the silence of an athlete refusing to feed the drama. Others called it guilt. One analyst said on live television, "If she's innocent, why isn't she speaking? This silence makes her look complicit. But how do you speak when you're blindsided? When the people who were supposed to protect you suddenly become the source of your pain?" Within hours, her sponsors started making quiet calls. Brand representatives requested clarification. Some even froze upcoming campaigns until the issue was resolved. Her agent, or what was left of her agency, released a short, sterile statement. "We are cooperating with authorities and will refrain from comments until the investigation concludes." It did nothing to stop the bleeding. Online, chaos ruled. Twitter turned into a courtroom. Instagram became a battlefield. Some fans defended her with fire. "Alex doesn't deserve this. She's being set up." Others attacked ruthlessly. Of course she knew. You can't be that close to corruption and stay clean. Every post, every photo from her past was suddenly evidence. People zoomed in on background faces, tagged names, made threads of conspiracies. An old clip resurfaced. Alex hugging her coach after a tense victory, the same coach now suspended. Comment sections filled with one chilling phrase. That was the moment she should have known. The world wanted blood, and the media gave it to them. Headlines twisted every angle. From prodigy to scandal, the team that betrayed her. Is this the end of Alex Eala's fairy tale? Each one more dramatic than the last, each one dragging her reputation deeper into the mud. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, Alex's family worked to shield her from the noise. But how do you protect someone from a storm that's already inside their house? Her mother was reportedly furious at the Federation's handling of the case, accusing officials of destroying a young athlete's focus for publicity. But even those words couldn't reverse the wave that had already hit. In the locker rooms, other players avoided her. Not out of judgment, out of fear. No one wanted their names tied to controversy. The same people who once called her sister now walked past her without eye contact. Isolation became her new normal. That evening, fans spotted her training alone on the practice court. No coach, no physio, just Alex under the fading light, hitting ball after ball in silence. Someone filmed it from a distance and posted it online. Within hours, the clip went viral, captioned, "Even when the world walks away, she still fights." That video reignited her fan base. People began to rally again. Stand with Eala started trending, pushing back against the hate. For the first time in days, the tide of opinion shifted slightly in her favor. But the peace didn't last long. Because soon someone leaked the second half of the report, the part that had been redacted. And what it revealed would shake her world even harder than the first leak. It wasn't just a story of betrayal. It was a revelation that someone inside her circle had been feeding information, not to protect her, but to destroy her. The second leak came without warning, no announcement, no official statement, just a quiet upload on an anonymous forum titled, "The Full Report, What They Didn't Want You to See." Within minutes, screenshots began circulating on social media. This wasn't rumor anymore. It was the hidden half of the investigation, the pages that had been censored in the initial leak. And this time the revelations weren't vague. They were names, timestamps, transactions, and encrypted messages. A digital trail that painted a story darker than anyone expected. The report described months of irregular activity linked to Eala's inner circle. Private communications between her coach and an unnamed consultant in Europe. Unreported payments moved through shell accounts tied to betting exchanges. Notes suggesting that match tendencies were being discussed, details that could easily shift betting odds. It didn't directly accuse Alex of complicity, but the proximity was devastating. Every message had her match dates, her training times, even her pre-match routines. Someone had been feeding information from the inside. And buried deep within the final pages was a single line that sent shockwaves across the tennis world. Primary source of investigation cooperation. Identified as a member of Eala's personal team. Someone close to her had flipped. Someone she trusted had turned informant. The internet exploded again, louder than before. Theories flooded YouTube and Reddit. Was it her coach? Her agent? Did her hitting partner make a deal? Nobody knew for sure, but the betrayal became part of the spectacle. A sports journalist from Spain tweeted, "If this report is real, the biggest scandal isn't the corruption. It's the betrayal inside Eala's camp." The emotional fallout was brutal. For years, Alex's brand was built on loyalty and humility. The image of a rising star who valued her circle more than fame. To see that circle collapse was more than a career crisis. It was personal heartbreak unfolding in public. Behind closed doors, she reportedly broke down after reading the report. According to sources close to the tournament, she asked officials to see the evidence herself, but was denied, as the case was still under review. That refusal pushed her deeper into silence. Days later, the press captured her at an airport. No entourage, no luggage tags, no smiles. Just a backpack and a distant stare. Fans called it the loneliest photo in tennis, and yet, even as the world speculated about her downfall, a few journalists began questioning the report's legitimacy. Why had it leaked twice, both times right before major tournaments? Why were sections inconsistent in language and formatting? And most importantly, who stood to gain from taking Alex down? A former Federation insider, speaking anonymously, hinted that political motives were in play. There's more to this than the team. There are people who don't want her rising too fast, too soon. The words reignited a dangerous idea. That the hidden report wasn't entirely about justice. It was about control. A warning to other young stars to stay in line. Still, the damage was done. Sponsors started distancing themselves quietly. One statement read, "We support Eala as an athlete but await full clarification before continuing our partnership." That await said it all. The trust she built through years of discipline had been shattered in a matter of weeks, not because she failed, but because someone close to her did. And as the story reached its breaking point, one thing became clear. This wasn't just a scandal anymore. It was a war between truth, betrayal, and survival, because now Alex knew there was only one way out. She would have to face the people who broke her from within, and that confrontation was inevitable. It happened quietly, away from the cameras and headlines, in a rented conference room somewhere in Europe, where Eala finally came face to face with what was left of her team. For days, she'd stayed silent, processing the betrayal in solitude. Her phone barely left airplane mode. Every message from sponsors, officials, and even friends went unanswered. The noise of the world had become unbearable, but the silence inside her was worse. When the Federation offered a mediated meeting, she agreed. Not for damage control, but for closure. One by one, they walked in. Her coach, the man who had been by her side since she was 15. Her physio, the one who had treated her injuries and wiped her tears after every loss. Her agent, whose voice once promised to make her a global star. But now, none of them could meet her eyes. The room was thick with tension. No media, no cameras, just the sound of breathing and the weight of things left unsaid. The lead investigator placed the leaked documents on the table, page after page of emails, transfers, and messages. Then came the revelation, one she never saw coming. The informant wasn't one person, it was two. Her agent and assistant coach had confessed to cooperating with investigators months ago, not to protect Alex, but to minimize their own punishment. They had known about the betting contacts, had looked the other way, and when the walls started closing in, they sacrificed the rest of the team to save themselves. For a moment, Alex couldn't speak. Her throat tightened, her chest burned. All the hours, the trust, the loyalty, reduced to a deal made behind her back. Finally, she whispered, "You used my name to build yourselves. And when it mattered, you sold it." Neither of them responded. There was nothing left to say. When she walked out of that room, Alex wasn't the same player anymore. Something had shifted. Not her talent, but her heart. She unfollowed everyone connected to her former camp that night. The next morning, she posted just 3 words on social media. Starting from zero. Fans flooded the comments. Thousands of them. Supportive, heartbroken, angry, inspired. Because everyone could feel it. This wasn't the end of Eala's story. It was the rebirth of one. Weeks passed. The chaos began to fade, but the silence that followed felt even louder. Tournaments continued without her team. Reporters moved to new scandals, and yet, Eala's name lingered like unfinished music, an echo of everything that had happened. She had lost her circle, her sponsors, her structure. But she hadn't lost herself. In the quiet that followed, she rebuilt, piece by piece, day by day. A new coach, a small support staff, no entourage, no noise, just focus. The kind of focus born not from confidence, but from pain. When she finally returned to the court, the world was watching. Cameras zoomed in as she tied her shoes, her face calm, unreadable. The crowd wasn't sure whether to cheer or hold its breath. Her name was announced. The applause was cautious, then louder, stronger, until the arena roared again. The first serve she hit that day wasn't just a point. It was a statement. People expected hesitation. Instead, she played with something different. Precision, control, emotion wrapped in ice. Every shot carried the weight of betrayal, the sting of headlines, the ache of starting over. By the end of the match, she'd won in straight sets. No celebration, no tears. Just quiet acknowledgement, a nod to herself. Afterward, a reporter asked if she had anything to say to her former team. Her response was calm, almost cold. "I forgive them, but I don't forget." That quote became headline news across the tennis world. Not because it was bitter, but because it was powerful. It was the sound of someone who had survived the storm and learned to walk through it stronger than before. The hidden report would eventually fade from trending lists, buried under newer controversies. But its shadow never fully disappeared. Even now, fans still debate, was Alex truly innocent, or was there more to the story? Did the Federation overreact, or cover up something bigger? No one knows for sure. And maybe that's what keeps her story alive. The mystery, the emotion, the strength beneath the silence. In the end, Eala became more than a tennis player. She became a symbol of betrayal turned to power, of resilience born from ruin, and as the crowd continues to chant her name, one question remains. Was this just another scandal? Or the beginning of a legacy rewritten by fire? Some stories end in defeat. Others begin in chaos and rise from it stronger. Eala's journey reminds us that even when everything falls apart, the truth and the fight always find their way back to the court. If you believe in second chances, in strength after scandal, and in athletes who refuse to be defined by headlines, subscribe now to follow every twist, every comeback, and every untold story from the world of women's tennis.